This week, we meet a man behind Yogarati, the author of Breaking the Bullying Circle, and he will go over his bullying experience as a child that led him down the path of becoming an educator. We'll get into it after I hit this music. Joining me this week, he's known as the bad boy of early childhood education, Mr. Ron Shuali. Ron,
There,
how's it going today?
there, amazing. Life is wonderful. How's it going for you?
It's going good up here. A little wet, but we're doing just fine.
Well, I'm in South Florida where it's practice hurricane every other day. So just to get us ready, just in case we have a real one. So I feel you.
Yeah, I remember being in Tampa a lot. You get your afternoon storms like on a daily basis, which is crazy.
Yeah, it was nuts. I mean, it's going to be looking outside. It's going to be dark. And this morning, me and the wifey went. We were in the beach, floating in the water when there was like no movement, no waves whatsoever. So it's crazy. The weather changes left, right, up, and down, just like human beings.
Yeah. So, Ron, before we get into our topic today, I found you because I looked up bully prevention speakers, and then I found Yogarati. Then like, okay, I'm interested now. So first,
Yes.
tell me about yourself and how Yogarati came about, and then we'll get right into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I was born in Israel. My parents came here when I was 4. Lived in North New Jersey a good amount of my life. Um, we moved to Central Jersey where it was a um more of a community, which is opposed to like a city where we used to live in North Jersey. But there was just like bullying happening pretty much everywhere. I used to get into fights all the time because I was just one of these kids that just like, well, if you say something mean to me, then I'm just gonna pop you because I know if I pop you, then you're not gonna say it again. Or if you pick on me or something like that, we're gonna fight. It's just back in the day. And for people that are listening, just let you know, I was born in 1975. So I've been on this planet for 48 years. So that's kind of like the age that I was growing up in. Um, and then when I was 12, so I would get into fights a lot. I was diagnosed ADHD, ODD, DOGG, all the stuff that they can possibly say about a kid that is different, high energy, very smart. I would stare out the window in public school and dream about just doing things like at 12. I wanted to be a pro wrestler because I saw Hulk Hogan being interviewed by Mean Gene Okerlund, and I think I want to do this. Um, but I would just stare out the window and just ask teachers questions like, why do I have to learn this? Why am I supposed to? How is this ever going to work in life? And, the traditional public school teachers, they would just tell you, just be quiet, sit down, learn this programming because, they don't have their own information. And then I was just getting kicked out of school, suspended a lot because I was bored. My parents said we're going to put you in a military academy, and I'm just like, oh, cool, awesome. My whole family is military, and everybody in Israel, you go high school, and then you have 6 month, 3 month break, and then you go join whichever branch of the military you're suited for based on how they test you. And I grew up watching GI Joe and Transformers, so I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I'm gonna love it to go. So we go to this place called Admiral Farragut in Tom's River, New Jersey. And they don't let you talk to your parents for 2 weeks. And I'm just like, oh, this is gonna be awesome, fun. And my dad's like, all right, have fun. My mom's have fun. This is at the Naval Academy. We are in the Navy, blah blah blah. Now, to give them a little leeway, they don't watch American movies. They never saw Full Metal Jacket. They never saw all these movies about how the old school American military was all about diminishing, destroying the psyche of the human being, and then building them back up in a platoon. Israeli military, my understanding, is different. You could be attacked at any point, so they just take what you have and they build on the skills instead of treating you like an animal and then building you up from there. So you're subordinate. Um, so I mean, by day one, I fell asleep. We got dressed up in our uniforms, costumes, whatever. And then 4 o'clock in the morning on Monday morning, they're smashing on my door. Get up, get up, get up, get up. And I do these talks in school, in conferences. I joke around like, "Wow, breakfast must be really early. This is awesome." They're letting me know they're knocking on the door. It's great. all jokes aside, 40 minutes later, we were outside rounded up on the field while it was raining. We had to do push-ups, running around, jumping jacks, all that stuff. I didn't start martial arts then. I wasn't in shape. I never did a push-up in my life. I did a push pop maybe. And I couldn't run. I ran for a quarter of a lap. And then my legs just went, well, this is interesting. Like, you haven't really done this in this situation. And after maybe a half a lap, my quads just were done and they were burned. I couldn't do anything else. And the captains, they had a really good way of singling people out. And basically, I was pulled over to the side, and I'm sitting there like I can't do anymore. And by the way, also the officers, and I'm doing quotes for people that are listening. The officers were just seniors in high school. Or they called them 13-year seniors that they couldn't get past senior year twice, so they kept them in there. So I was being screamed at by kids that were 17, 18 year young. Obviously, they're in that situation because of whatever challenges they have. I found out later in life, like my roommate was in there because he beat his mom up. So I didn't realize the kind of traumatized people that were in there. So basically, I was told, if you don't do push-ups, then if you don't run, everyone's gonna do push-ups because of you. I'm crying. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. It's raining. I mean, pull any apocalyptic now, what's it called, movie you can think of, and it's like right there. And I go into my afterwards. Everybody go back to your room. Go line up for breakfast. I go in to my room. My roommate's not there. And then I'm just in my drawers, like tiny whiteys. I'm 12, crying my eyes out, going, "What the hell? How do I get out of this situation?" Like full blown, whatever. And then a guy. Well, right now I'm 6 foot, over 300 pounds, because the trauma had me turn into a pro wrestling martial artist that constantly looks over his shoulders, left, right, up and down, figuring out 700 different ways how to incapacitate somebody, because that's just what the trauma did. So it basically went to the point after I was getting beaten up all the time. And the last thing was my mom said, if you get into a fight and you get expelled, then we lose our $12,000. And your uncle, who was I think like third admiral or something in the Israeli Navy, your uncle is going to send two guys over here. They're going to throw a bag over you. So we're talking about like 80 in the 80s, so you can do anything. Throw a bag over you. They're going to throw you in a van, throw you on a plane, and you're going to Israel, and you're not coming back till you're done with the army. You're not going to see any of your friends or whatever. So now she says that to me before I go. If it's 3 days later, these kids are punching me. They're trying to figure out different ways how to hit me and hurt me. So they figured out if you take a combination lock and use it like brass knuckles, that can hurt even more. And I would just stand there raging with fists clenched, knowing the second I would throw one of the kids down the stairs, out the window, whatever, this and that, I'm done. Within a week, I'm gone if I don't end up going to juvie for tearing these kids' arms off. So 2 weeks go by, my parents come see me. My mom doesn't believe a word that I say about what's happening. She's like, "Why, you lost weight?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm running away from people constantly." For 2 weeks. They leave. A week goes by. I get blamed for something I didn't do. They said, and then some kid comes up to me. It's like, "You're gonna get a blanket party," and I'm like, "Oh, I don't know what a blanket party is. I'm 12." One kid felt bad. He's like, "They're gonna beat the shit out of you tonight." And I'm sorry if I get this. I know people have never heard that word before, so some people might get triggered, but that's on them. Um, so basically, I blanket party. Those of you that haven't had the privilege of watching Full Metal Jacket, is when they throw a blanket over you and they put bars of soap, zestfully clean, and they would put bars of soap and combination locks in socks. They would put the blanket over you, hold you down, and beat the shit out of you. So I then went to the commanding officer's room, who were 16, 17-year-old morons, and basically they laughed, said nothing would happen. I knew something was going to go down. I walked into my bedroom in full-blown panic trauma, creating trauma right there. And then first thing I saw was a bottle of Brasso, which is brass cleaner. And so there's human beings that for some reason they go nuts if your belt buckles and your shoes aren't shined, because that's how broken a traumatized human NPC that they are. So these broken, traumatized NPC people that made sure that I had my belt buckle shiny and my this and that, I took that bottle and I chugged it because I had to get out of there. My roommate, for the first time, this guy would jump off in the middle of the night to go to bed and then punch me in the face while I was asleep and go back to bed. So he knocked it out of my hand, became a human being for half a second. And then 20 minutes later, I'm in the ambulance. going to the hospital, and then finally my parents realized that something was happening, something went on. And then my mom just goes nuts and she reaches out this and that. Within like a year later, so they start backtracking the school. A year later, they start letting girls in because they're losing whatever. And then eventually, Admiral Farragut moved to Louisiana, and I think they're still getting sued by people in
Wow.
New Jersey for all the trauma and stuff happening. And I could for me, like I'm getting, even though I'm normally loving and happy and wonderful, if that place burnt down, that would be the possible best thing, so that other kids wouldn't have to deal with the things that pretty much happened. And then from there, um, I just remember being in the ambulance ride and saying to myself, someday I'm gonna have all the money in the world so I could find these two guys and kill them. And that programmed me for a good 13 years that money was the only thing that was important to me. And it turned me into what my sister called an absolute monster. And and then I went to go learn martial arts. So, and then I went back to my school. And the interesting part is, so, I'm gone for September. And then October, my mom didn't bring me back. She's like, all right, we'll bring you back to public school in November. So now all of a sudden that, all the people know, your friends know you, now it's like November. It's like, dude, where were you for September, October? So one of the kids in the classroom made a crack, and I don't remember what happened. It just, my fist was bam across his face, and I was on top of him, just raging. And I got the regular suspension, whatever. But when I came back, I just be started to be a bully. I'm like, who could I possibly? Anybody that's whatever. So I couldn't stand anybody that started being tougher or this and that. It was just had a lot of anger
Yeah.
issues. I started martial arts and all that stuff. So, okay, I'm going to take a deep breath and remember this is your podcast.
No, it's great to hear. So you had a rough childhood, became a bully. How did you end up getting a master's degree in early childhood education?
I was sitting at a seminar. So, the first step in me releasing my bullying rage and understanding stuff was I took a seminar in 2001 called the Landmark Forum. That was absolutely life changing, and so many people that I know have done it, and it's crazy they don't advertise it. Why I had a master's in early childhood, I was just sitting in a seminar, and I realized that there's a lot of people have a certain listening. We have a programming that happens all the time, and our brain runs us all the time. So people hear their brain say something and they've been taught to believe, well, this is coming from inside me. You're taught to believe that what your brain says is true. And then there's people that just what their brain says comes out of their mouth, which is like the worst thing that they could possibly do. If they actually took a breath and asked their heart how they should respond or react, life would be absolutely different. And they would still be with this person in this relationship and blah, blah, blah. So I just was understand. I was already doing programs in schools. I was already doing keynote speaking and things like that. But I realized that people, if they don't see a degree after my name in education, they're going to make up stories. So I already got a bachelor's in business from Rutgers. I already got my BS in BS because you learn nothing in business school. You learn everything in real life. That's also one of the things how they bully you is there's a lot of schools and a lot of certificates, and then you realize all the stuff you really learn is actually in real life, but they already got you because you can't not do the certificate or whatever. So after I got my BS and BS, I went, let me see how about getting a master's in early childhood. So I applied to this Capella University online, did one class for 3 years, argued with instructors about behavior techniques when they haven't been in a classroom in 10 years and they're preaching from archaic theory-based textbooks. And that morning, I was teaching 5 half-hour classes at a karate at a preschool where I was teaching kids 24 months up to 6 years young. But using my behavior mastery system that I developed starting in 2005 when I started early childhood. But they're busy being right, and their brain is so I learned what I learned in my master's degree was that a lot of the programming that happens in traditional bachelor's college also happens in master's, where they tell you how it is. But then there's not many opportunities where they actually take you to a school and say, practice this, practice this, practice that. Imagine running your dojo, and from white belt to black belt, you just hand them manuals, and you never throw a punch. You never have somebody snap and pull it back. You never have somebody get into a stance and feel grounding into the earth. You never do any of that stuff. What style do you teach? Just real quick.
So we don't really have a style. So we're skills. So I'm based off of ITF Taekwondo is my original style.
Okay. When you did so I started ATA Taekwondo, and then I quit after I saw a black belt get knocked out while he got into a big ready stance, in real life. So I learned also too that, my ATA Taekwondo was like literally giving you the confidence to think that you can defend yourself, and then you like tip tap. You go to a tournament and you stop this far away from somebody's head, and that's a point. So it's very interesting. So I like teaching kids about like how to actually defend yourself in reality, which is very very challenging because anybody that knows how to take you to the ground, anybody that knows a white belt in jujitsu against a black belt in a striking style. Okay, maybe yellow belt.
Yeah. Ron, going into looking at the anti-bullying policies in schools, I look at my school's anti-bullying policy and it just has words, doesn't say anything clear. Basically just says bullying is bad, don't do it.
Yeah,
And if you want to
that's
report
about right.
bullying, you need to fill out this form
If you
that
want to snitch,
we're not gonna tell you where it's at. You gotta go find it and fill this
right?
form out, mail it to the principal, and then we'll look
Yeah.
into it. But what's gonna happen
Mm-hmm.
after that? We
Nothing.
don't know. We don't know.
Nothing.
So it gets me wondering, are the school's anti-bullying policies, are they for my children or are they for the
No.
school?
Therefore, whoever created them to make sure that kids stay victims longer and don't think for themselves. They had been created. I'll tell you, I mean, I know when it started, and I lived in New Jersey, and Governor Chris Christie, he created the anti-bullying Bill of Rights with the state because this guy from Rutgers, Tyler Clementi, killed himself because of bullying. And when you find out the story, it had nothing to do with bullying. He was just videotaped doing stuff by his roommate or blah, blah, this and that. But you know how politicians, they love to get into uproar, so they create these bullying, anti-bullying bill of rights. Now I'm doing assembly programs on bullying back then, and I'm like, oh wow, I'm going to get a lot busier. It's going to be more of this and that. I go to a meeting in Trenton, and for 3 hours I'm listening to them talk about these rules and this rules, and from now on, teachers are not allowed to take care of situations. If something happens where you think it's harassment, intimidation, or bullying, the HIV laws, you have 2 days to write a report. You can't get involved. Then you send it to the anti-bullying specialist, who is not a person that's actually paid to do this, so is actually in essence getting bullied to do this job. It's a guidance counselor, it's a staff coordinator, whatever it is. Then that person has 10 days to investigate while your child's getting beaten up. And while your child is contemplating taking their life, this and that, this anti-bullying specialist has a stack of things on their table. And then after that, the anti-bullying specialist is done with their investigation of the kids that they don't even know. I let the teacher who knows the kids and the families handle it when he can't. So then they send it over to the principal, and then they send it over to the superintendent, and then finally, a month and a half later, at a board of ed meeting of people that don't know the kid, the family, the situation, or even educators, they look at a piece of paper, like you said, words, and they decide if it's bullying. Absolute insanity. And it's the over, and
Yeah.
then they do the zero tolerance. What are zero tolerance laws? Zero tolerance laws started in the 90s when kids were bringing weapons to school. So we have zero tolerance for weapons. And then the public schools go, well, we can just use zero tolerance across the board because we don't want to be responsible and blah, blah, blah. And then that was zero tolerance everywhere. So kids are getting shamed into defending themselves. My best friend from fifth grade, I remember talking to him about when we would get into fights, and then oh wow, you punch hard, you kick hard, you want to play He-Man, awesome, and now you're friends with the other person. But then these anti-bullying laws go all over the place, and all these states go, wow, they're amazing, and they start adopting them, and then that's when you start seeing the massive. That's when you start seeing the bully sides, because the victim that stays a victim longer, instead of just being allowed to hit back or to punch back or whatever, stays a victim longer. That's why there's kids that are staying victims longer, and then they kill themselves because they can't tell this person. They tell the parents. The parents, they tell the teacher, because the parents are robots and they're stuck in their NPC programming of, well, it used to be like how it used to be back in the day. And they say, tell the teacher. You know what happens when you tell the teachers? Nothing. Teachers don't want to get involved because they might lose their job. This person doesn't want to get involved. Meanwhile, there's a kid that cries himself to sleep every night asking themselves, mommy and daddy, why do you keep sending me to a place where I'm getting beaten up? those are how the bullying laws have continuously created more and more victimization, and 100% are the reason. I mean, in my opinion, they're the reasons why there's so many more. Every other country, one school shooting, two here, 300, 400. Good job, America.
It's great. You know what? You never saw my school's anti-bullying policy from Mankato, Minnesota, but you just listed it off top of your head.
It's across
That's
the board.
crazy. That's crazy.
Put it this way. Let's think about this way, and I get that this might be true. Imagine an organization that has 50 offices, and they want to have every person in their office weak, subordinate, and not questioning. What would you do? Would you let people, if you were harassed in that office, would you let HR handle it, or would HR go, oh, whatever, and now you feel like a victim over and over and over and over, but you're going to the same job over and over and over? One corporation, 50 offices. The corporation wants everybody to be a victim and to be quiet and keep buying the cereals and do this and do that and don't talk back and go to college and get your degree and go to work and die.
I've been told by people that you can't change the bullying policies in schools. It's set by the
Correct.
it's set by the state. Okay, that may be true, but you can exceed them. You can make them better. You can have the states, but you say, okay, but with the states, we're going to do this, this, and this, and this, though. I mean, why can't you have a clear, defined anti-bullying policy? Why can't kids report bullying with ease? Because as a parent, you think going to a teacher, that is reporting bullying, but it's not. You look at the school policy. Nope, that's called a complaint. You have to go through all these hoops.
That's called tattling on yourself. It's called ratting yourself out and putting yourself as a target. Instead of handling it in the hallway or handling it in the bathroom or handling it behind the fence like you're supposed to. I mean, listen, there's reality, and schools are about teaching kids about reality. I just, every person I talk to, I say, listen, if these kids weren't 7 and if they're 19 and this was happening, what would you do and what would the situation be? And that's how I teach kids how to deal with life. And I don't envy you. I don't envy you because you're going on the school board, and then you're going against the powers that be. So that means that means the superintendent and the principal. I mean, listen, there is a possibility. There is a possibility that there are human beings that still operate within their heart and want to, like you want to get in and you want to save it, as long as you don't get sucked into the world where, it's, I don't know if you watch Stranger Things, you're in the upside down and this and that, somebody just whatever. But if you can do that, that's awesome. But then that would also be, getting a superintendent that's going to go against their thing. And if you can find people that care more about their kids than their jobs, then that's amazing. But that's the hardest part to do.
The hard part, though, because bullying takes away money from the school. If there's high reports of bullying in the schools get no money because kids leave.
Who's going to report it?
Parents don't leave, but if we make bullying reporting easier for kids at schools, I mean, that gets tracked.
By who?
That's going to make that school look bad.
Hold on. Does it get tracked by third party?
It gets tracked by the state here.
Well, there you go. It's handled. The people of the state. Well, they'll definitely rat on themselves if there's bullying. There was in New Jersey, there's bullying policies. You have to give yourself a score. And they give you, how do they track the bullying? It's a self-assessment score. So you rate yourself if there's bullying or not. And what do you think these schools are going to do? It's so inside the same system. That's why I'm such an advocate for homeschooling. You want to save your kid, get your kids out of school. Micro schools, world schooling. There's Acton Academy. They're all over the country. One teacher, 10 kids. Oh, good for you for doing what you're doing, man.
Yeah, I'm also a local small business owner, so this could go two ways for me. It could be really good or it could be really bad. So, but I'm like, I'm gonna do my best here. So
it'll probably help your business, and it'll definitely be. It'll be good for your heart. It'll be good for kids to see that somebody's standing up. And then I would just say, because you're dealing with the powers that be, have a backup or 3. Think of this think of this like you're a spy, and there's information you have to get in, and there's people that are constantly working against you.
Well, the best thing about being a school board is usually mostly all public information. If I'm if I'm having trouble getting something passed, I will just let the community know. This fall, I have a bunch of
Good.
videos coming out that I've been watching school board meetings. I was watching school board meetings just to kind of learn the structure of the meetings
Right.
and kind of understand how schools operate. But what
Hmm.
I came across is I didn't realize the racism in public schools, even though they say they're not racist, but I have them saying it out of their mouths that they're
Yeah.
racist. For one, we feel bad about the non-white kids, but when the white kids are performing bad, we don't talk about that. That's not a big issue. There's a
You
lady
can't.
who's 30.
We can't talk about that now. Now it's
Yeah,
there's it's yeah, you can't talk about
but
this because there's a lot of anger. That's why they're
they
removed.
label they label everything. Every kid's got a label. We don't call
Hmm.
kids anymore. You're either called the
Yeah.
non-whites or you're called the white kids. I was just like, are you serious? I almost decided not to run for school board. So I started watching these videos. I'm like, dude,
Hmm.
this is gonna cost me my business. But then I'm involved with some community groups in town. They're like, no, if you really want to make a difference, you got to do this. I'm like, okay,
What
well,
what
my
what
lease is
is
up next year, so
yeah.
we'll find out next year what
Yeah,
happens.
dude.
But
I mean, listen. If you love your business and it's your business that you love and you thrive and it adds community, I don't know what you do, then awesome. If you don't love your business, you're doing it just to make money, and you could absolutely make at least the same being a keynote speaker on bullying and all these different things, and you can make your money in corporate bullying. I mean, that happens everywhere, but
yeah,
it's like with words. Everybody says everything and all these different things, and everyone's a liar. Especially the more like I joke around about that. I don't do anything politically correct. A, because it's impossible. B, because the word politics is in it. So anything that has to do with politics, there's deception and lying around. I mean, it's a given. I mean, you can't bribe anyone, but lobbying is legal. Come on.
yeah. Well, reason why I'm running for school board as well is, as you know, you teach kids martial arts and yoga as well. If you
Yeah.
when you work with kids, when you tell them or when you ask them, hey, Johnny, when you see something bad happening, what do you do? Do we teach our kids to just walk away, just don't handle it, that's not your problem? Or do we teach kids to be proactive and say, you need to give that person help? What,
I
how do you
I
teach your
give
kids?
choices. I give choices because everyone's different. Me,
Yep.
ever since the whole bullying thing happened, if I see something happening, I'm going to go and confront it, and who knows if there's going to be a situation. Other people, the problem is that we as human beings are telling other people what to do. We don't know about their trauma. We don't know about their experience. We don't know what's this and that. I mean, but what are your options? Your options are you can either step up and stand up for somebody else, and then it could get physical. So hopefully you know how to handle it, or you can be a bystander. And when I used to do assembly programs in public schools, I would do the bully. I would teach the kids why they're being bullies and how to get rid of it because of whatever. I would teach victims different techniques how to get away from a bullying situation by using the power look, which is when you look at the top of the forehead, so all the micro expressions disappear. And then I would teach them. I had this thing called the and shield. Captain America's people made it for me, and I would teach the kids how to say and. I have all this stuff. I'm actually. It's funny that you're calling breaking the bullying because my website and my book is called Breaking the Bullying Circle. So and I've like 90 subscribers because nobody really cares about stopping bullying. But I would get to the bystander part and I would say, well, are you trying to? I would give an example where it's like if you see a bank robbery happening, are you going to go in and stop the bank robbery? No. Are you going to knock on the door and tell them to stop? No. What are you going to do? You're going to call the cops. Okay. And then I asked them, are you more interested in getting the bank robbers in trouble or getting the people in the bank out of trouble? And most of the kids say getting the people in the bank out of trouble. So you got it. You're being a helper. You're not being a tattletale. You're not being a blah, blah. If your sole purpose was to get somebody in trouble, then you're being a tattletale. So if you happen to walk into a bathroom, you see something happening, there's a situation going on in the classroom and they're not handling it, whatever the situation is it more important to get the bully in trouble or the kid out of trouble? And if the kid is being in trouble, then they have that distinction that they can go do it, whether it's handling it themselves, whether it's getting help. And then I also tell kids, by the way, a lot of these teachers, they're in their program just like we are as robots, and they're going to tell you, well, show me where it is because they don't think they're not thinking critically or with their heart. They're stuck in
Yeah.
their computer program. And so you tell them, I'm not going to be the bully's next victim. I'm not going to show you, but lady, it's the bathroom down the hall. Because, some teachers are so, they've been doing it for so long. They started with passion, and then they realized the education system that they're in and that they can't do anything about it. So then they give up, but they're still there collecting the check, the tenure.
Yeah. But you gave your kid choices on how to step
Yeah,
in to help in some capacity. That's what I'm trying to say. We don't
yeah.
teach kids just to ignore it and move on with their day, right? You get
No,
choices. So
it's up.
so that was
Yeah,
my hope.
it,
That's
yeah,
my
yeah.
whole
It's up
point.
to
I
you.
saw something that's happening that I couldn't believe that made me sick to my stomach. Like, okay, I can't just ignore this because that would make then. I mean, yes, nobody knows that I watch school board videos, but I
Right.
know. So when I'm telling someone to do something, I'm being a hypocrite because I just saw something that
Yeah,
I could at least stepped in or tried to did something. So I'm going to
yeah.
try to run for school board. And if I don't win school board election, which is fine, I still got the attention of those 7 school board
Yes,
members this
yes,
year, and they got to see
yes.
all the dirt that they've been saying publicly that really wasn't public because you can't find these videos. They're hard to find, but I found
Yeah.
them, and I just made them more public. And so
And then
either
and then
way,
if
I'm going
you
to get to them, and then you be
and if
careful on what
you
they say from
yeah.
these days.
Yeah, and if you don't get in there, be like, listen, I ran for school board to try to stop bullying, and obviously, they want the bullying to continue, so they didn't let me in. So we're having a sale at the dojo, and then you just ramp up your bullying stuff. And I mean, when I was doing really anti-bullying stuff, I had an anti-bullying lawyer available for conversations. I mean, I was coaching people about this and documenting and everything there, and going on Facebook and all the different apps, and taking screenshots of the ignorance of the principal when they're sending these BS notes and things like that. So I mean, listen, whatever you can do, if you can't make changes inside the system because the system's too fixed and rigged, if you can at least help kids by teaching them when somebody shoves you, it's like when somebody shoves you, what I do is I do assembly programs outside of school. So I did a lot of stuff. You can go onto my Breaking the Bullying Circle YouTube channel, and you see me doing stuff at boys and girls clubs. And I have conversations where I tell the kids, I want you to have a conversation with mom and dad, and I want you to ask them 4 questions, and then I would send something home with the parent, with the staff there. Hopefully, you got it. And the 4 questions I had the kids ask was, "What do you want to do if somebody's making fun of me?" Which the parent automatically program spits out, tell the teacher, blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't. I'd say, tell me and tell me who the kid is and blah, blah, blah. But that's me. Number 2, what do you want me to do if somebody's making fun of me on a screen, whether it's a phone or whatever? Obviously, communicate to me. Don't tell the teacher because they're just going to blow it off, but communicate to me. And then question 3 and question 4. Question 3, what do you want me to do if somebody's hitting me in school, punching me, kicking me, spitting on me, throwing me into a locker? And then what do you want me to do if somebody's doing this outside of school? Because I have met parents that they think the public school system is so wonderful that you never fight back. But if it's happening on a playground, on the soccer field, then you're allowed to defend themselves. But when the
Yeah.
kids ask the parents, what do you want me to do if somebody's hitting me? And when the parent goes, put your hands up, and I tell the parent, don't just say defend yourself, stand up for yourself. What the heck does that mean? No, put your hands up. If somebody comes at you, you block. You take them, you do this, you do that, whatever. I have a song that I actually had made. It's a cartoon. It's called If You Want to Stop a Bully. And people can find it on YouTube. And I teach, if you want to stop a bully, do a block. And then the next part, if you want to stop a bully, do a kick. Hammer fist on the nose to everyone that shows that you'll never ever get bullied again. And I got heat for it, but I don't care because I want these kids to be safe when they're 6, be safe when they're 10, be safe when they're 15. I don't want a victim mentality in any children whatsoever. So if I teach them, have a conversation with mom and dad, and then mom and dad, I coach them and I say, and tell them on the day that you do get suspended, a great expectation, you will get suspended because the rules are broken. But on the day that you get suspended, you're not in trouble. I'm taking the day off from work. We're going out for pizza. We're going out for ice cream. I tell them the day that they got suspended, put it on the calendar every year as the day to celebrate them for standing up for themselves. And when they walk into the principal's office with them, just say, look, I'm just going to tell the principal all this stuff, just like whatever. Because obviously, if you're a real human being, you're going to have to look at this principal and they're going to have to lie to you. And they're going to go into their robot mode. Well, our policies and state policy, blah, blah, blah. And you're going to want to to hammer fist them. But if it was their child, they would allow them to defend themselves. But they're just programmed with their own stuff because jobs are more important than kids to some people.
And I can guarantee you, if your child hammer fists another kid on the nose, you're not getting bullied by that kid ever again.
And if they're
That's
so
a
much
hard hit.
smaller. But you know it too. I mean, I got hammer fisted on the nose by one of my 3-year young kids during a board breaking because I wasn't paying attention. And the 3-year kid, you know how it is. Doesn't matter the size of the person. Hammer fist on the nose, the eyes tear up. It's a freezing motion, and that person, that bully, looks at you and goes, "You're legit." And I don't teach all these. Listen, when I used to teach martial arts, hammer.
And that's what's sad about these anti-bullying policies. Because if you want your child to end bullying, that's pretty much what it takes these days for it to stop. I had a student not this last year, not this past school year, but last year.
Yeah.
She got punched in the stomach because the boy wanted her to scream like a girl, and she didn't want to scream. So the boy punched her in the stomach on the playground. She went looking for help to find a teacher or the recess aide. Couldn't find any help. So the kid kept following her. So she turned around, round kicked this kid in the face. Guess who got in trouble? Guess who got in trouble? The girl who did a round kick to his face. And the school wanted her to apologize to him. Yeah, by the school.
Right. Well, what do the parents do? Good job.
Oh, yeah, parents are proud.
Good.
Parents are
Good.
proud.
Who cares? Who cares? There's no permanent record. All that stuff that they do to give you fear and fear and fear. Who cares? Great, I got in trouble. Why would you care about getting in trouble by a bunch of idiots? Why would you why would you care? That's like if somebody like beneath you said, "Well, how dare you do that?" It's like, because this is what I wanted to do and I want to keep myself safe. That's like the people that I know somebody, what's it called? I know one of my friends, he's a wrestler. He did not listen to the people in the staircases when they said, "Stay here, you'll be safe." And when he ran out of those freaking towers and got covered in soot, or whatever the thing is, dude, don't listen to anybody that is telling you that wouldn't do that same exact thing. It's absolutely nuts. Hashtag homeschool.
Hashtag homeschool. Yeah, very school. I realize we got. Yeah. I'm gonna rename this whole podcast because we are nowhere near at the bullying policies, but that's okay. That's the beauty of
5 minutes.
doing.
Yeah, 5 minutes. We did 5 minutes of that.
5 minutes of that. Yeah, I'm gonna probably call it the Into the Mind of Yogarati or something. I'll figure something out. No big deal.
Call it Breaking the Bullying Circle.
There we go. Hey, if okay with me using that, I will do that.
Yeah,
Breaking the Bullying Circle.
I didn't trademark it. It just kind of, it's a circle, and I kind of thought that would be the best way to teach people.
Sir. So, Ron, we're getting closer at time here.
Mm-hmm.
How can people find you?
Do you really want to find me? I'm just going to get you more upset. No, yes. I'm teasing. If you want to find me, go to my website, ronspeak.com, RONSPEAK.com. And if you type in also breakingthebullyingcircle.com, breakingthebullyingcircle.com, I believe it takes you to my YouTube channel where you can see tons of, not tons, a lot of assembly programs, and you'll see the last assembly programs that I did. When I have kids going, "Why do I get in trouble for standing up for myself? Why do I get in trouble when I put my hands up to defend myself?" And then I look at the principal going, "Can you tell her why she gets in trouble?" And so, I mean, after that, I had that happen a bunch of times. I'm like, "So your school tells you that you're not allowed to defend yourself?" Oh, and the kids are like, "Yeah." And I'm doing it right in front of principals and right. So, and I have these videos on there because it just, these people are disgusting, allowing this victimization to happen, and they're behind it.
Ron, I want to thank you for coming on today.
I appreciate you reaching out. Hopefully, I only triggered people 500 times instead of the usual 1,000.